Alright, so I figured I'd make this little video here to explain a few things about fire alarm systems and basically how they work. I know I've made videos about this before, but don't exactly think any of them actually used pieces of fire alarm equipment to explain it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right here, right now. So basically, the heart of this operation is your fire alarm control panel. It has everything you need to do different things with the system, like change the coding option, do a routine fire drill, connect different initiating devices to zones, and so much more. And you even got all your little buttons here. Alarm acknowledge, audible silence, supervisory acknowledge, trouble acknowledge, security, reset. Now I will tell you that different fire alarm control panels are different, so different ones are going to have different things on them. And then you got a little smaller version of a control panel known as an annunciator, and yeah, they work the same way as control panels do. They have your main buttons right there. This one has a fire drill button, and it shows your AC power, your when the alarm is silenced, when there's a supervisory, when there's a trouble, when there's an alarm condition, and all that other stuff, you know. But it works the same way as the control panel does. And then you got your elevators that are wired into a fire alarm system, so that when an alarm goes off, the elevator will enter fire recall mode and relocate to the main re-entry floor. And just stay there with the doors stuck open until firefighters arrive to use it to get to where they need to be, such as the floor that the fire alarm was activated on. And then you go to escalators, which are also hooked up to a fire alarm system in a way, because these little devices, once a fire alarm goes off, these will stop moving automatically to ensure that no one tries to step on during the fire emergency, because what if a piece of mechanical equipment inside the escalator catches fire? Well, I'd rather not say, because I'm pretty sure you already know. And then you got one of your initiating devices. Now, this is basically a manual call point from the United Kingdom, like places like London and Scotland and Ireland and Wales, all those kinds of places. And this device, much like pull stations of the United States, are used to activate your notification appliances, which I will get to momentarily. And once that notification appliance sounds, your control panels and your annunciators will receive the condition and sound an alarm, basically. Now, other ways that can be activated is by other initiating devices like your heat detectors, which will go off once it reaches a certain temperature, which I believe is usually 155 degrees, but that might depend on which heat detector you've got. And then you got your smoke detectors, this one being the System Sensor i3 smoke detector. And once smoke gets into this thing, the lights will go solid initiating that there is a fire within the building, and much like the heat detector, when it detects heat, once this detects smoke and the light shows solid, your control panels and your annunciators will sense that fire emergency and go into full evacuation mode. Now, there is another initiating device that was with this right here. It's called a water flow switch, and once the water flow switch detects the movement of water within the pipes, it will send a signal to this device known as a fire sprinkler, and many people also know this as a fire suppression device, because once it activates, it sprays out water from those pipes and again sends a signal to your fire alarm control panels and your annunciators and activates your notification appliances and sends the building into full fire evacuation mode. Now, this whole notification appliance thing that I'm talking about, well, here's an example of that. A Simplex True Alert remote speaker. Once you hear something from this, such as in this case, since it's a remote speaker, it would be a voice evacuation message. But once you hear this, once you hear the slow whoop of the voice evacuation message start on a speaker like this, it will be preceded by a voice evacuation message. In this case, it would be either the Simplex 4100U or Simplex 4100ES voice evacuation messages. Or if someone decided to get creative and put an EST message or a Firelight message or a Silent Night message or even a Real Light message on this little Simplex True Alert. Whichever one someone decided to use, you'll hear that, prompting you to evacuate the building, not to use an elevator, or as it's known as in the UK, a lift, because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. And basically just tell you not to re-enter the building unless directed to do so by the proper authorities. Now, of course, once a fire alarm signal is received and the notification appliances starts sounding, if you want to reset everything back to normal, you'll first hit the alarm acknowledge button on the panel to acknowledge the location that it was activated and the time, of course. And then you'll hit your audible silence button to make all your horns and messages be quiet and just leave all your strobes flashing. And then you'll reset your notification appliances, your pull stations, your manual control points. Make sure all your heat detectors and smoke detectors are back to normal. Make sure there's no more water going through your fire sprinklers. And only once all that's happened, you'll reset the entire system using the system reset button. Now, there are times when this little supervisory light will go off, such as if the weather outside of a generator that's hooked up to your fire alarm system gets too cold, your generator gets too cold, and it can't produce heat the way it's supposed to. Supervisory light will activate, and you can just use your supervisory acknowledge button to acknowledge that supervisory so the panel doesn't just beep the whole time. And once all that's been cleared, once the snow or whatever is melted, you'll press your system reset button to reset everything back to normal. And then you got your little system trouble light right there. Now, that would happen in a case such as if the power were to go out and you haven't got a backup generator running with your system, and the trouble light would flash. The little screen up there would showcase no power, system trouble, all that kind of stuff. And you just press your trouble acknowledge button to make the panel stop beeping. And once the power has been restored, that system trouble should go away on its own. But a quicker way to have that happen is have a backup generator and a backup battery hooked up, so the generator can kick on and your backup battery will provide an additional source of power to your fire alarm system, so your little system trouble should go away more quickly. And then once the main power has been restored, the generator backup power will go off, your system trouble light will turn back on, but then the main power would come back on and system trouble light would go away. And your building is now running on its main power source once again. So, that was basically just a demonstrated rundown of how fire alarm systems work. So, if you like this video, press the like button, subscribe for more fire alarm facts and other things, and also comment down below what else you want me to do on this channel, because I take ideas. And this little demo board isn't going anywhere, so I can still use it for future explanations and future videos. So yeah, see you all later.